Hey y'all, Rocky Durham, Chef Ambassador for the New Mexico Department of Agriculture at your service. We're going to be exploring some ways to incorporate some New Mexican ingredients into your holiday foods and even utilize some holiday leftovers should that be the case in your family. And one of the things that I'm really excited about today is a pumpkin cheesecake. Now, I don't know what's on your Thanksgiving menu, but sometimes I like to have a really nice roasted calabaza kind of done in the, or pumpkin kind of done in the style of maybe even sweet potatoes. You might want to consider using some New Mexico pumpkins on your table as well. So what we're going to do with the leftovers is I took these leftover pumpkins and I put them into the blender with some cream cheese and some sugar and a couple of eggs, and I made the custard for this cheesecake. Now, one of the things that makes it truly New Mexican is that rather than using a graham cracker crust, I made the crust out of Biscochitos, the official state cookie of the great state of New Mexico. And the same thing, I just put those into a food processor with a little bit of melted butter, packed them into the bottom of this springform pan here, and then toasted it for a couple minutes. The recipe is, of course, available on the website, so check it out if you want more details. Toast it for just a little bit, then I poured the pumpkin custard on top, and we bake it in a very low oven, so like 300 degrees. And this took about 40-45 minutes. But one of the things that I like to do to ensure that the cheesecake is really nice and soft and not dry is that I cook it in what's called a bain-marie, or a water bath. But a lot of times the springform pans aren't necessarily watertight. So if you set this just directly into a little cookie sheet such as this and put like a 1/4 inch of water, the water might seep in and make the crust just like soggy and not so great. So what I've done is I take 2 pieces of aluminum foil and just carefully, so as to not tear it, I just make like a little nest for the springform pan, and that'll help keep the water from seeping in to the cheesecake. So now let's go ahead and unmold it. One of the things that you might notice is that there aren't any cracks in the top of my cheesecake. And that's what I'm always going for when I make a cheesecake. I don't want one that's like split in the top, and a lot of times it will crack really severely. And the way that you mitigate this is how you cool it. So as soon as it comes out of the oven, what I like to do is I'll just take my knife or a little spatula and I just run it along the outside of the pan to loosen it from the side of the springform pan. What happens then is as the cake cools, it's going to shrink a little bit. So it's going to kind of deflate, and if it's been freed from the side, it will pull away from the sides. If it's stuck to the side and it starts to collapse, what'll happen is it'll split in the middle. So you can see that I've done a pretty good job by not letting this one split here. So let's go ahead, keep your fingers crossed. So I'm going to unmold it now. Remove the ring. And there we have it. So let's just go ahead and cut a slice of this to see how it works. I cooked this yesterday and I let it cool in the fridge overnight. Sometimes you might not have the patience to let it cool before you cut it, and there's no shame in that. But let's just cut a nice slice of this. Ooh, look at that. Very, very pleased with myself. So there's the cheesecake. Now, there's a lot of like dairy in the cheesecake. That's not to say you can't garnish it with like some whipped cream on top, which I think would be lovely. But just to give it a little fancy garnish, I've got some confectioner's sugar here. And just sprinkle a little bit of that on top. And then there is some cinnamon in this recipe, so I thought maybe a little dusting of cinnamon on top. And there you have it, the Biscochito pumpkin cheesecake.